Okay, it's 7 o'clock. In order to respect everyone's time, I will begin. And before we start our introductions and open up the meeting, I'd like everyone to stand, remove your hats, and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the back of the room. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And welcome to the Wednesday, March 26, 2025 Planning Board meeting. We will begin with introductions. Go ahead, Danny, you can start.
Danny Arsenal.
John Decker.
Drew Stevens.
Teresa Bascom.
Glenn Griswold.
Adam Ryan.
Blair Haney, SRPC.
Okay, we have on the agenda 3 cases tonight. The first is case 25-001 SUB Stoddard. It's a continued case. That's 163 Stevens Hill Road. It's an application from Jones and Beach Engineers on behalf of James Sigmund, requesting a 2-lot conventional subdivision.
Early or late or something.
The property is located at 163 Stevens Hill Road in Nottingham and is identified as tax map number 48, lot 23. A conditional use permit has been applied for. Stevens Hill Road is a scenic town road. The initial public hearing was on January 8th, 2025. The application has been accepted as complete and is not considered a
Development of regional impact.
development of regional impact. It was continued to 1/22. Topography waiver passed. Public site walk was on February 2nd. And they had a ZBA case on the 18th of March for a variance less than 30,000 square feet for a lot, which passed. Hello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Barry Geyer. I'm here for the applicant. The project in front of you is at 163 Stevens Hill Road, map 48, lot 2-3. The property consists of 24.8 acres in the residential agricultural zone. The intent of the project is to subdivide the existing 24-acre lot into 2 lots. The new lot would be lot 2-3A, consisting of 2.12 acres, and the parent lot is 2-3, which would be 22.7 acres. As you indicated, since the last public hearing, we've had this site walk, and we've also obtained a variance to allow a building envelope of less than 30,000 square feet. The new lot 2-3A, has a building envelope of 25,513 square feet. We've also updated the plans and to include the variance note on A2 and the C2 sheet, as well as we revised the driveway. If you go to sheet C2, there was a lot of discussion at the site walk regarding the location of the driveway. We had previously had it in the location of the existing stone wall break, and I think after the site walk that everybody agreed that it would probably be better if it could go to the north, which we had moved to the north, and then we'll just use those pieces of the stone wall to fill in the existing break. We also added some of the recommendations from the Conservation Commission, which included the erosion control matting at the potential wetland crossing, changed the culvert to a box culvert, and added the wetland setback markers and plaques within the building envelopes. And at our last meeting, there was a lot of discussion regarding the utilities on lot 2-3 when we crossed through the wetland buffer in the wetland. So we've shown that above ground utilities through that section to minimize the impact. We are requesting conditional use permit required to access the building envelope for lot 2-3. That is a wetland impact of 2,688 square feet and a buffer impact of 4,909 square feet. At this time, it is not the intent to construct on the larger of the two, the parent lot that would require the conditional use permit, but we have to obtain it for the subdivision. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Okay, well, thank you. You said that you've also changed out the culvert to a box culvert
Correct.
and above ground utilities, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to write as fast as you're speaking. It doesn't work.
Yeah, so we included erosion control matting at the wetland crossing. The box culvert, we had originally had a 36-inch round culvert. We went to a 3x3 box culvert at the recommendation of the Concom. And we added wetland setback markers within the building envelopes to delineate where the wetland setback begins.
Within the building envelope, you said, right?
Correct.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
Just to jump in real quick, did you receive any comments from the Conservation Commission? Did you speak to them about?
Yeah, we met with the Concom.
Okay.
We received comments, we made the changes. They actually spoke at the last time we were here, in the board meeting, and the plan set you have in front of you includes those comments as well.
Yeah, I see that. We got a letter.
I don't know if we received a letter or anything, I think it was just,
Blair.
Yeah, we got something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Did you not get it?
I don't believe I did. I could be wrong, it's been a while.
Well, that's why I'm saying it out loud, because I had comments in my staff report. I was just trying to go back over the last one from January.
It's, yeah, dated January 18th. It's the Conservation Commission's letter to the planning board on this.
Which means I might have written mine before that came in to me, but I do have it in my file folder.
I think if there was anything that we missed, that I don't think we would be opposed to it as long as it's reasonable. But I think we covered the majority of the items that were requested by Concom.
Propose a 36-inch culvert be ribbed on the outside and smooth on the inside?
So that was the original submittal. We went to a 3x3 box culvert, concrete box
Oh,
culvert.
so this is the 36-inch pipe.
Correct.
Okay.
And it does say that's what.
Oh, yeah, the next
Concom
line.
recommended. Yep.
Calamity of errors. Yes, instead, the commission recommends a 3x3 open box culvert, which you seem to address. Additionally, silt fence. Structures. The utilities will be above ground, not underground. Yep. Disturbance.
So they also mentioned to have information on downhill drainage due to the proposed alterations of terrain.
So my recollection of that conversation was that we were going to look at that, they were gonna look at that on the site walk, which we did.
Okay.
And there was another one that was regarding the usage of salt on the driveways, and we
Correct.
added a note that limits the usage of salt on the driveways.
Okay. And you did the medallions, which you said?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, can you explain why you needed to go before the ZBA to get a variance? I guess I'm a little bit confused because my understanding is that the zoning board typically hears appeals for denials of something, so I'm confused what was,
They wouldn't have gotten them.
So, when we originally came in, we had measured the buildable envelope to the wrong wetland setback. And at the last time we were in this office, or in this room, the prior chairman suggested we review it. And we noticed that he was correct, that we had went to the wrong wetland setback. And so we revised it and we were short. So we're at 25,513, so we went to the ZBA and obtained the variance for that.
So the variance is for a non-conforming proposed lot in the subdivision.
Buildable
Right, the
area.
buildable area being non-conforming in a proposed
Correct.
plan. Seems backwards to me, but nonetheless. Okay, that makes sense why the building envelope changed then.
I mean, just kind of looking at it, looks like what kind of boxes in the lot,
Yeah, right.
so there really isn't much of a choice.
Yeah, so wetlands in particular on the site, during the site walk, it was pretty much impossible to really tell where any wetlands might be because everything was still covered in snow. I took a look back at the original subdivision of this property that happened in 1996, I want to say. And when looking at that, I actually printed out a bunch of copies so everybody can look as well. I have some for you as well, Mr. Gear. More you need over there.
They can share.
Okay.
Unless you made-
There should be enough, yeah.
Okay.
Extra here. So what I noticed on this was that the hydric soils delineated in this, during this subdivision, look really different than what's been delineated during this subdivision. I'm not a wetland scientist, but this is a pretty big discrepancy to me, and I can't reconcile what I'm seeing on this old subdivision versus this new subdivision, with regards to the wetland delineation. If you look on the, this blown up version of it here, you can orient yourself by finding the cemetery
Right.
over on Stevens Hill. And then if you look at where the stone wall is, right, the kind of
Okay.
cross stone wall, all the hydric soils are in front of that, right, between the road and those stone walls. And I don't see any hydric soils, any wetlands delineated on these current plans in those areas whatsoever. And so I guess what I'm wondering is whether or not we should get a third-party wetland delineation here to make sure that this, that these wetlands are correctly identified here, especially if there is a conditional use permit being proposed to go through the wetlands. There might be much more hydric soil and wetlands being impacted and buffers being impacted than are being depicted here, and I'm concerned about that, especially given that this property is pretty much entirely, highest ranked wildlife habitat in the entire state. And that building through a wetlands is one of the most impactful things you can do in a place like this. So that's where I'm at. I feel like we need more information about these wetlands. I think this board should, get a third party to take a look at it.
Well, I think we've been to now 3 meetings, plus the Conservation Commission, plus a site walk. This is the first time we're hearing about this.
Well, we needed a site walk.
We
first.
also have the wetlands flagged by a wetland scientist.
Sure.
So I don't know who did this, or, obviously you said it was 96. I don't know. But I'm confident in our wetland scientist who's been doing this in the area for the last probably 40 years.
Yeah, I trust that you trust your wetland scientist for sure. But like I said, this is just such a huge discrepancy between what was on a previous subdivision and what's being shown here, especially given that there's a wetlands impact proposed. Seems like we ought to truly understand if this is where the, wetlands are at. I'm not saying anything about your, wetland scientists' work that they've done. I am seeing a big discrepancy here. I've got questions. I'm not a wetland scientist.
Sure, neither am I.
Anybody else have anything to add? Comment?
I just comment on that, on the site walk, regarding what's shown on this plan from wherever that came from versus the plan here, and versus the site walk, that there was, certainly, you could see a depression area where the wetlands are shown on this plan, and then we walked past there to a hill, and then we came down, and there was an area of drainage where this box culvert is, which was actively flowing, and it seems pretty consistent with the site walk, what I'm seeing on this plan, and inconsistent with that. So since 1996, I don't know if things have really changed, or, they did cut some trees, and there was some timbers across this crossing, maybe to, access for the tree cutting or something like that, but it was clearly a drainage way that seems to be indicated on this plan. That's all I'm saying. I hear what you're saying, Drew, but I also see what I saw on this plan and on the site walk.
Right, and I guess my point was on the sidewalk, it was totally covered in snow, especially this area, from this old subdivision plan. So, not a wetland scientist, I don't know if hydric soils move over time, become non-hydric soils. That is beyond my expertise. But I think it would be a good idea for this board to get a third opinion, a second opinion from a third party rather.
Drew, one thing that I'm noticing, looking at both the contours and the stone walls, that the stone walls on the modern sheet appear to be closer to the road than are shown on the Orvis Drew plan. I'm fairly familiar with all of the people involved in doing this, the Orvis Drew plan, and I find it hard to believe, but that seems like a fairly significant error if the wetland is on one side of the stone wall or the other, but possible.
This is why I'm.
The topography that's shown indicates that where the stone wall is shown on this plan versus this plan, it would put the hydric soils on the other side of it. That's.
I see what you're saying.
I don't have a scale with me, unfortunately, so, being able to check that is.
So there's an extra discrepancy there that makes it even more confusing.
Does this help?
It might.
Does anybody else have anything? Do we have any other comments? Claire, any thoughts?
Perfect.
I
Thank you.
do it for a living too.
Not here.
No?
I had a question, I didn't see it on here, and on Blair's review too, this application was accepted. It doesn't show anywhere in here.
Yeah,
it was accepted date.
January, I believe, yeah. Our first meeting in January, I think it was.
Okay,
Right on your agenda, actually.
Pardon me?
If you look at your agenda, all that information's right there.
Yeah, January 8th.
Yeah. Public hearing, initial public hearing was January 8th.
Yeah,
Application was complete and
it's in the wrong spot by a lot.
That where I go.
The stone wall that's shown on the Orvis plan is significantly farther back than what's shown on the modern plan.
Do the boundaries of the hydric soil in the old plan align roughly with where they are in the current plan?
Within reason.
That's why it's good to have a surveyor on the board.
So they put the, it appears.
So it appears that
So
the stone wall on the older plan is in the wrong position.
This plan, it looks like, according to Glenn, the stone wall has been moved back away from the wall or road further than it actually is,
Yeah.
assuming that the current plan has the stone wall correct, which I'm gonna assume that it is because it looks more detailed than the previous one.
Okay, so what is your,
I guess with that, yeah, I guess that, settles that
concern?
concern for me. If the stone wall truly is in a separate, or, placed in a different spot on this old subdivision, then that explains why the hydric soils are so, so different.
Okay. Okay. Right, at this point, did you get some public comment?
One thing to note is that the appeal period for the Board of Appeals decision is still, we're still within that. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Okay.
I don't think that precludes the board from making a decision though, right?
It doesn't, it's separate bodies, but perhaps a condition is that no appeals are taken and then it stands, something like that.
All right, at this point in time, it is 7:21. Is there anybody here who would like to speak for or against this case? If so, please come up, state your name, your address, and then you may address your concerns to us.
Matt Pitkin, Nottingham, Deerfield Road, Nottingham.
I'm sorry, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this has been addressed, just asking it. Where that proposed subdivision is going between the power lines and the 90-degree corner on Stevens Hill Road, I think in the last 10 years, there's already been 2 houses added, and it looks like they're going to do another 2, or potential to do 2 more. That section of road is super tight. You can't pass 2 regular-sized cars in there. When a subdivision like this is proposed, does the town gain any more ground on the road so that they could widen it and make it passable and not such a mess? You're going to increase traffic. It's a horrible section of road where they are subdividing. Is that something that's possible, and is this the time to look at it? If anybody's tried driving in there and passing an oil truck, the school bus coming in the other direction, it doesn't happen, especially in wintertime when the bankings are stocked right up. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Would anyone else? Again, state your name and address, please.
James Sigmund, 163 Stevens Hill Road. So Mr. Geyer is actually kind of putting this forward for us. So kind of to elaborate on what he said, we've talked about this numerous times. Also, Mr. Rowell was here previously, brought up a couple good points. We've all kind of grown up on this road for a very long time. I lived there for 18 years of my life, trying to bring my family back to where I grew up. It's a beautiful place. I got all my family up there. We're just trying to kind of get back up there. The part of that road is very narrow, and it's gotten narrow over the years because we have gone down so far between grading and plowing and all that sort of stuff. If we could somehow build that road back up, you bring 5-6 feet, of earth back into that road, you're gonna gain 6 to 8 feet if you do all of that. Instead of us giving land, which we have already done in previous surveys, which we have talked about. We have given, I can't remember the exact word we used. But like I said, if we can bring some fill back into there, that will give us what is needed on that road to widen that back up. I remember being 4, 5, 6 years old, and you could pass 2 cars on that road. Now in certain spots you can't, because where a flat road used to be, now the sides of the road are this high, and you're still driving down here. It's never how it used to be. We used to be level on all fronts. I mean, you're talking about trees falling over in the road now, roots showing from different trees because we're trying to widen it in spaces that we really shouldn't be. I mean, I'm all for bringing some dirt in. I would even be willing to, if this passes and we have some extra fill, working with the town to bring some dirt in there and build this road back up. Because I know kind of down near that cemetery where you see where we actually changed the driveway location to kind of help with that. That part is also very, very narrow. It's always been narrow because you have a cemetery here and you have a hill here. So that's kind of all I have. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice. All right, it's 7:25.
Just to expound on that, I mean, I think most of the board members heard this before, but the applicants did give right-of-way in the past on that subdivision that was included on the other, the original subdivision. That's why the right-of-way doesn't follow the stone wall.
Okay.
And I think they'd be happy if the town widened the road.
It sounds like they want filled, not widened.
But if you bring in fill, it will widen.
But I don't know that we have, I mean, we don't have the ability to
Yeah,
do
understood.
that. That's,
No, I know, well, the town took it away, so we just figured it might bring it back.
but we're not,
That's our thoughts.
that's not the purview of this board,
No, I know.
okay?
Absolutely.
No, it's, yeah. All right, board members, what's your pleasure? We've had the, application's been received, and we've had the topography waived, we've done the site walk, they've got the variance.
Do we need to make a motion on the CUP?
Yes, we still need to make a motion on the CUP.
I've got a couple extra questions about the CUP if we're gonna talk about that, now. I can't seem to find it in front of me, but the notes that I have, I think the CUP is asking for, it says it's a conditional use permit for Article 4, Section B. And I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what that's referencing.
I think it's Article 3.
I think it's probably maybe just a mistake, but I could not find what that was meant to be referencing. I know what the CUP is for and what it should reference, but
Yeah, it's Article 3. I think it's just a bad reference.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's
there was
correct.
also, again, I don't have the CUP in front of me, but one of the responses used the phrase "the prejudice use of land," and I've read that like dozens of times, and I cannot figure out what that means. Do you have that in front of you? It's one of the first couple questions, I think, the responses. It says something about the prejudice use of land.
And I'm not sure what, that might have been a misnomer. But yeah, access is required for the use of land, not within the conservation district, right? So that's why we have to access through it. Our building envelope is past the conservation district, so,
Yeah, okay.
so
Makes
that's
sense.
the
I just wasn't
intent.
sure if that prejudice use of land had some specific meaning that was trying to be conveyed. Okay.
All right, do you have any other questions on that?
I don't have any questions, no.
All right, do you need the,
I'll add that this Article 3, you said 4.
Well, that's what it says in the CUP. It says Article 4, Section B. In the CUP, from the applicant, it says that that's what they're requesting, the CUP 4, is Article 4, Section B, and that, I couldn't find that because I don't think it exists.
It's in the zoning ordinance.
It's
and-
like
Well,
Article 3.
It appears to be Article
Yeah.
3B,
Right.
which is listed on
Blair's,
the plan review by Blair, I believe.
right.
You did this? Blair found the right numbers, so, do we have to correct that on, an application or somewhere here?
I don't think so. I think that.
I don't,
I mean, we go on to indicate that it's for the wetland buffer impact, which would be Article 3. So I apologize for the typo, but I think we're okay.
the typo in your application?
Correct.
Okay.
So some concerns that I have though with this conditional use permit is that in our ordinances for conditional use permit, it has, for, you know, a wetlands crossing, it's got a number of required conditions that the conditional use permit is supposed to meet. And it says in ordinance Article 3, B6, that conditional use permits will only be granted provided that no alternative route which does not cross a wetland or has less detrimental impact on the wetland is feasible. And so early on in this process, the applicant did state that it would be possible to go before the ZBA and see if they could get a variance for the building envelope to build in front of the wetlands instead of putting a road through to go behind. So to me, that seems like there is an alternative way to construct this subdivision. The applicant's already gone before the ZBA and received a variance for the smaller lots, building lot to be under what we require anyway. So to me, it seems like instead of trying to cross the wetlands, the applicant would be better off trying to, it would be a lot less expensive too, not to have to build a road through the wetland. Seems like it would make more sense and be an alternative for this plan to seek relief from the zoning board to locate the lot in the front part of that proposed lot. Also in Article 3B6 Part D, one of the conditions of the CUP approval is that economic advantage alone isn't a reason for the proposed construction. In the application, the applicant states that the economic advantage of the wetland impacts is to allow a proposed subdivision of a 24.8 acre parcel. So the economic advantage is to allow the subdivision, but the subdivision can only happen if this wetlands crossing is permitted. So it seems like this is pretty much in direct opposition to what the purpose of the CUP is for, and that economic advantage is precisely why this is being subdivided to be sold off. And since there's an alternative, you know, route that doesn't go through the wetlands, that is possible by getting relief from the ZBA, and since this seems to just be that the wetlands crossing is only for an economic advantage, I think this CUP should not be permitted because it doesn't meet the required conditions on our ordinances.
If I may, I would disagree, and I think you contradict yourself by saying that we could obtain a variance to subdivide and put the buildable area in the front of the lot. And then you say that, so that, then the CUP wouldn't be required for the economic advantage alone. So the subdivision of the lot, you agree that we could potentially get a variance to go in the front, but then you say that it's, so I think that's contradictory. As we said, there is no intent currently to construct on the parent lot, the bigger the lot that requires the wetland impact. We've gone through the process to do it the right way. I think the CUP, you're asking us to go get a variance for something that a CUP at the planning board, so we have to get relief one way or the other. So I think the project we have in front of you stands on its own. We have to access the buildable area.
I did bring this up, the building envelope at the beginning too, that I looked at it and initially it said, you know, why couldn't it have been in the front and made to work? But it didn't fit, was the discussion. and, you know, there is more cost, but, you know, Mr. Rollins came in too and said, you know, and he made a couple points, which I thought were, he said, you know, a lot of people like to have their houses, especially on a large lot like this, way back off the road, and, you know, he said, you know, look at, so I went up the next time at the sidewalk, I was looking at all the houses set well back off the road, just like this, and it's, if that's what they wanna do, if that's what people like on a 20-acre lot, why would you wanna be right near the road if you're, and it can't fit there anyway, if you could put your house back in the woods and have some privacy, so I think
Crossing
this.
through wetlands, that's the, you know, it's crossing through a wetlands that is near critical wetlands, part of a wetlands complex. On the site walk as well, the Rowells were there, and they were expressing concerns about vernal pools and the wetlands in the area too, the endangered species that they have said that they've seen around the area as well. So they, you know, they weren't I don't think what you're saying is completely relays the sentiments from the Rowells. They did say that, those
Yeah,
things,
well,
but on the
I'm just-
sidewalk, they additionally said more things.
I'm pointing out that they have a plan that shows a lot envelope back there, which didn't fit in the front, and it's
Well, they-
before us, and.
The smaller
there's a-
subdivided lot envelope didn't even fit, and they had to seek relief from the zoning board before coming back before us, because the original plan didn't even fit. So they're trying to fit two lots where only one lot really goes. You know, they're trying to cross through wetlands so that they can build a lot in the back. I get it, but these wetlands are part of a larger complex. Once you build a road through a wetlands, those wetlands are destroyed. Putting in a culvert only does so much to allow the flow of water, but those wetlands are compromised. These wetlands stretch through multiple properties, so it's not just this one parcel that's being affected, you know? It's the area in general. It's abutters and it's other things.
Question.
Go ahead.
Has the wetland crossing been approved by DES?
No, as I said, we don't plan to construct on that lot, so we're not seeking the wetland permit.
Blair, do you have anything? Anybody else?
I just want to reiterate, this is a 24-acre parcel. We're asking for one additional lot. I understand the wetlands are important, but there's relief for a reason, and I think this is a very good reason to give relief from this.
Okay. Well, we've been discussing the CUP. We've heard reasons for or against. Do we have a motion, the one way or the other?
I will make a motion to deny the conditional use permit for Article 3, Section B, because it, economic advantage alone appears to be a proposed reason for construction, because this is essentially a single buildable lot that is going to be subdivided using this wetlands crossing.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and Adam, second. It's been moved and seconded that we deny the motion, that we deny the CUP request as secondary to economic advantages alone with this wetland crossing. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to add that they did talk to their our conservation people, and this has been beat to heck. And they also set up to put above-ground holes to, you know, not have to make additional impacts to minimize the amount, and putting in the box culvert. So I think they have made a large amount of effort and expense and time. And it's not about that all costs money, that's an economic advantage. I don't agree with the motion.
Okay, well, we are going to proceed to vote, so you can choose your option there. All right, all those in favor of the motion to deny the CUP, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3. All those opposed? 1,
I'm gonna abstain.
2.
Abstain? You're abstaining
Yeah,
from voting?
sure, can I?
Yes, you can.
I don't understand.
Is it an abstention for a reason?
Well, so I'm not sure that one way or another what that economic impact means. You know, being very new to this, you know, I don't understand if that's the correct thing or not at this point. So that's why I want to abstain, because I don't know what decision is the right one. I think that, you know, for that approval to say, yeah, we should do this, then they really should have the permit at least applied for. But, you know, I don't know how all this stuff ties together.
If I can point out, a wetlands crossing permit is a significant expenditure for a lot of people.
Definitely.
You know, you're talking about several $1,000s to be able to do that, plus the time and everything for the engineers to put those things together. I would say that if the denial goes through with the, for the CUP, that them going forward, trying to get the wetlands crossing, there's a good possibility that it could be denied because of the fact that the board has already denied the CUP. So they would be out a significant sum for no relief whatsoever. And I think that that's unfair to them to not be able to use their land in a responsible manner. Because as he said, they're going through all the steps properly, making sure that everything works, you know, dotting all of the i's and crossing all the t's in order to make this work properly.
Right, yeah, I mean, I want people to use their land appropriately. I agree with all that. I'm just trying to understand how it ties together, the CUP versus the wetland permit from the state. So do we have to approve the CUP before they can apply for the wetland permit?
No.
No. No, that's something they could have done. Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah,
But wait, before you do that, we did have a vote going through, and it was 3 in favor of the motion to deny, 3 opposed to that motion, and then 1 abstaining, so it's a draw here. We don't,
And a quick point of order for the future, when we make a vote and it's open for discussion, that's the time to discuss, not
Yes.
after half of the votes have been cast.
correct.
Just wanted to
Yeah.
Thank you.
make that point.
But I wanted to get the
So-
vote out is,
just to clarify, the motion failed.
yeah.
That's right.
On that point,
No, the motion passed.
That motion passed.
I thought it was a
3, 3, 1.
4-3-3-1.
There's
you have to
7
have
of
a
us.
majority, don't you?
Yep, no, you did. I miscounted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to your point, Mr. Decker, that we normally take these in steps. So at the town level, we normally get the CUP first before going to the wetlands board. but at the state level for the permit. But just, there are a lot of wetlands along frontages of road that's actually been created by the road. So to say that you can't ever cross, I mean, one of the biggest state requirements, or one of the reasons they give you the permit in the first place is for access to your lot. So to say that you're going to not grant the CUP for access to a lot is troubling. Let me just say that. Let's move on.
Okay. So we just have the application now, correct? All right. So folks, we are at a point where we have had this application before us now. It's January. We've done the site walk, all the other things that I've talked about already ad nauseum. It's time for us to,
So I don't think I think we still have the CUP to act on. The CUP has not been denied, but it has not been accepted either. Is a denial an implicit approval? I don't believe that's true. Blair?
I don't know off the top of my head.
So, sorry.
That's when maybe,
It would be you would have to make a separate motion to approve it.
Accept. Yeah.
You can't just go that it failed and that's it. It still has to be accepted.
It's the same that if you make a motion to, if we made a motion to approve this case and it didn't pass, that doesn't mean the case has been denied, right? That isn't what that means.
So,
And so in the opposite case,
It's part of the condition to approve it that you need to get back to the area they want to build. So with the denial of the current, the CUP, that would basically leave this plan unapprovable. So that is a part of it is, what I
Because
see
there's
is
only one existing lot.
1,445,400 square foot lot, 1,000,000 square feet, and they're disturbing an area of 4,900 square feet. It's 0.004%. It doesn't seem like a giant impact. I look
you
out,
talked about the wetlands impact?
yes,
But it's not 100,
percentage to
this
the
property
overall
is
lot.
100% wetland. You can't say it's 0.01% that's being affected as though the entire property is all the same.
Blair, there's brooks that go under driveways all over the place and under roads. Look right out the door, you go right across the North River, it goes right under the road, Route
What does
152.
that have to do with it?
let's try to
It's a
stick with
normal
the
thing to
application.
have driveway access to your property. It's a normal property right. So,
So,
But this
Chris,
isn't
do
an
you have?
existing lot. This isn't an existing lot that they need, to put a driveway through in order. It's not like the wetlands cross through the front of this lot. There's no buildable area in front, and they are just asking for a CUP to go through and build. They want to subdivide, and the CUP is specifically so that they can subdivide. Crossing this wetlands is only to make the subdivision happen.
well, I mean, look, the town created a path to approval with extra review. And it's for the purpose of access. So, I mean, this application is tailor-made for the regulation. And there is no alternative route.
Right.
So I don't see how this is not meeting the conditions of the permit.
So, all right, so we just made a motion so what was the result of that motion? To
It was
not-
Failed.
it
3.
failed, so we did not technically deny it.
It was not.
Well, it
denied.
was a draw.
So I will make a motion to approve the CUP.
I will second.
Because your motion failed on the statement that, about the
You
financial.
don't need a statement on what you can just say, approve it.
Yeah.
And you seconded?
Yes.
Okay. No more discussion, right? I have to say, no more discussion. All right, there's motion to approve the CUP, and it was seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Hold up hand. 1, 2. All those opposed? 2, 3. You got that by the skin of your teeth.
Thank you very much.
One thing to note, in the conditions, if the board does approve the plan, that subsection E does talk about a surety for the work specific to crossing the wetland. So please just add a condition. If you reference my memo, I give you the explicit reference language down towards the bottom.
Where's that at, Lloyd?
Article 3, B6E. It talks about a surety, so for the sake of brevity, just reference it, and it'll be added as part of the notice of conditions, again, assuming it's approved.
Wait, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Correct. All right, so the rest is the application that's before us now. Do we have anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
What are you gonna say, Blair?
And a condition of the state permit as well. Make sure, I mean, you can always just say all state permits, but like, just tie that one in there. And our standard conditions too, which are in the review, the final plans from the surveyor and the wetland scientist, with seals and signatures, the Mylars, you know,
All fees paid,
all fees paid, yes,
okay.
all that stuff at the bottom.
So just to clarify, as I indicated before, they don't plan to construct on this. The permits have a deadline. You have to construct within a certain time period. So can we condition it
I
upon
was thinking about that, yeah.
before construction on lot 2-3 instead
I
of
was gonna-
prior to the signing of?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. Are you talking about the surety or just the
Well,
actual performance of?
Both of them, I mean, since we're not gonna construct on it, or that the intent is not to construct on it, it may be, maybe 40, 50 years from now, somebody else will. But we can't, if we obtain a permit now, the permit, I think, lasts
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't work. I mean, there's no reason to get the permit. Same with surety. I think we could put those both as prior to construction on lot 2-3 instead of at the time of signature of the Mylar.
Yeah. So that would be a,
Blair,
this
what
is
would,
subsequent, is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, prior to construction, yeah.
Prior to construction.
what would we have for, as a board, for a method of ensuring that that happens?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure about, I mean, what's the trigger mechanism for the construction of the driveway?
Right.
Or when they go to pull a building permit. And I forget, do we have driveway permits in town?
Yeah, I don't actually know the answer to that. I don't know. Do we have a,
There- there- And we do have the driveway permits.
all right.
So it could be conditioned upon that.
Yeah.
For lot 2-3.
So
It'd be okay.
prior to the issuing of a building, of a driveway permit, the applicant must meet the surety and must have the state approval. So, Chris, if you want to state it like that.
Yeah, I'm working on 5, E, did you come up with for the surety business?
B6E.
Six,
B6
E.
E.
Second page of it.
Article 3.
The bottom of the conditional uses section.
I think it's page 17.
No, it's funny, it's page 3, yeah. It's the third page of that, Chris.
Yeah,
6.
Is that B? Oh, conditional use permit here.
Okay,
16, so he said 17.
okay.
E.
so Blair, when you say a surety,
Okay.
I'm not seeing that, that's what I'm getting to. I'm not seeing that. Is that part of B6, right?
6E. And it says, prior to granting of the conditional use permit under this section, the applicant shall agree to submit a performance security to ensure all construction is carried out in accordance with approved design. The security shall be submitted in a form and amount and surety and conditions satisfactory to, 1, the planning board's site plan and subdivision application, and 2, the Board of Selectmen in all other cases. Page 17 of the ZO,
17, you said?
of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, I was still on the wetland section on page 13, 12, 11. No.
I mean, B is the wetlands conservation area.
And new members should have a copy of the ZO, correct, in their binders? Yes?
That's at the back, yeah.
Orange section. That's my text, orange.
Okay, so someone else want to make the motion?
Are you following through on that now or no?
I'm trying to understand what I'm making a motion for, because I have not read this particular section. I'm just thrown on the table here, so if you want me to make a motion, I'm gonna read this and have an idea of how it works. But if somebody wants to add to, I'll start a motion here for an approval, but,
Well, if it's
Make sure we're getting the-
added and we're voting, are you going to vote in favor of it without understanding that part, or no? I don't know where to go for you, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. You had said you were gonna make the motion, so
I-
I was just wondering if you,
I probably need a moment. If somebody else wants to jump in front of me, there we go.
I'll make a motion to grant the conditional use permit
sorry.
with
And,
the,
we're looking for approval of
past
the
that.
for the,
application.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
That's
was
okay.
thinking about the surety and performances.
goes
That's
on.
going to be part of the motion to approve. It'll be
Okay.
made as a condition of the notice of decision.
See if you,
Understood, okay.
this
Um,
part,
I will make a motion to approve the plan as submitted with the conditions as noted.
That the applicant will, prior to receiving a driveway permit, post the surety as noted in Article 3, Section B, 6E, and 2, receiving a state wetlands crossing permit from DES.
along with all the other usual conditions of approval,
As noted in the staff report.
as noted in the staff report. Thank you, I like that. Is there a second?
Second.
Who's, okay. All right. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the application before us with the following conditions, which have been read and stated several times. Hopefully, nobody needs me to repeat them. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got it, 7-0. Now, don't forget their, do we have, I don't remember.
Sorry, what?
Is there appeals on this one like there is at the zoning board? I'm forgetting.
Yes,
Yes, okay. It just escaped my mind.
no worries.
And should we add on to this, about the, subject to the no appeals on the variance case?
Well, he's not gonna be doing anything anytime soon anyway, so he knows if you go forward with anything, you have that.
Yeah, the subdivision is per the ZBA variance, so if the variance was overturned, or, then it would be null and void.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Do we want to do a quick findings of condition, findings?
Where do we have
Finding
any?
of facts?
Yeah.
Findings of fact, that's what it is.
Do we have a standard findings of facts, or do we?
I'm trying to find one from a prior subdivision. Ed had always added it at the end.
Offhand.
I find those to be important if you deny something, but
It's far more important for denials,
it doesn't
yes.
seem to make any sense if you're approving
Right,
something.
we approve because it meets our ordinances and
because we-
regulations
It's
to our
basically,
satisfaction.
it's basically what it is. You're just simply saying, we found that it met the language and intent of our zoning bylaws and site subdivision regulations.
That is our findings of fact.
That's basically it, yeah.
It's redundant, but it's also important to say, so it's,
Yeah, the state wants us to be more on top of that.
Like I said, I agree with it because of denials, but
Yes,
otherwise,
it makes far more sense than that is.
yes. Take care.
Good.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, our next case is case 25-003, SIT Nottingham Business Park of 145 Old Turnpike Road. We have seen this application multiple times. The applicant has had a CMA engineering review being done. You're not here for them, are you?
They continued.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta continue it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, but with you standing
set
up, I'm like, are you here for that?
You
All
can
right.
say.
Anxious.
Yeah, yeah.
He's excited.
All right, do we know did they get the CMA review? Is that in?
No, we haven't
I
received
haven't
it
seen
yet.
it at all yet? All right, and when we met on Saturday for the site walk, it was asked then that they have a continuance to the 9th of April. So I need someone to,
Make a motion to continue this to the 9th of April at, our regular business time, 7 o'clock.
Well, second.
okay. So it's been moved and seconded that we continue case 25-003 to April 9th at 7 PM. Discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's 7-0.
Have we received the hydrogeologic study for that? I think, Blair, you
Yes,
said you got
we
it
did.
via email, but I
They-
don't know if I've seen it.
It's
Has it
it's
come to
posted
us?
on the website.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Alana, thank you for posting everything
Did
you
second
posted,
that
you're awesome.
motion?
I did, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It was, yeah, it was interesting, pretty long.
They always are.
Yes.
The only, I don't even know if we're supposed to talk about that. but,
Okay, no, we're going to go on to
wanted to
case
know if that was it.
25-006, SUB Ernstoff, 35 Deerfield Road. The application from Denson Construction Incorporated on behalf of Michael and Donna Ernstoff requesting a 5-lot conventional subdivision. The property is located at 35 Deerfield Road in Nottingham and is identified as tax map 53, lot 6-2. A CUP permit has been applied for. And today is the initial public hearing on this.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Christopher Berry with Berry Surveying and Engineering, representing the applicant and the landowner here this evening. This is a project, we've been before this board about a year ago now under a design review consideration, just to sort of go over what we were thinking. Since that time, we have applied for and received a variance to permit the larger lot in the subdivision to essentially have frontage of 200 feet and then access into it based on an existing access into the site. Before I continue, Glenn, I certainly don't mind if you sit on the board, but I think we might want to have an open discussion about potential conflicts.
So I understand, and I'm going to ask you, is it appropriate for me to be involved in the discussion if I recuse myself?
If you're recusing yourself from the board and going to sit out there, you are able to give some.
Public comment?
Yes.
Yep,
Yep.
okay.
It's been done plenty of times before.
Yes.
Ed and Ian did it a lot. so.
Yes.
Yep. And in that case, I shall recuse myself on this particular project as an abutter.
All right.
So I'm gonna go take my seat over.
All right, so this brings, I want you all to be aware, we are now at the 6-member board, as we do not have any alternates. Again, that would be nice if we had some alternates.
Don't laugh, Blair.
We haven't had any alternates
It's
since
a quiet
the
shout to the
80s.
void.
Exactly.
Shout out to the void.
Stepped away. Okay.
So I'll continue, sorry, Madam
Yep,
Chair.
that's okay.
And like I said, it wouldn't have bothered me, I know Glenn very well. The proposal for you this evening is at 35 Deerfield Road, contains approximately 110 acres of land that was previously owned by the landowners. They had done some shuffling of the land with some lot line revisions, some subdivisions, and the property was eventually sold to our current client and landowner, the Ernstoffs. What we're proposing for a subdivision is allowed by right under the subdivision regulations as a private road. We are proposing a basic 4-lot subdivision, which proposes a roadway into the site to a small hammerhead, and then leaves the remaining acreage, approximately 93 acres, open and undeveloped by this application. I think we'll all note, as part of the design review discussion, the front of this parcel has wetlands that sort of run across it. And so our first review of this site was to do a basic frontage subdivision. And once we determined that it would require 1, 2, or maybe even 3 wetland crossings to get into the buildable areas, we decided to approach this with the private road subdivision. And essentially, a roadway would be constructed across the top of the slope, which I can point to on the topographic plan if you'd like. This is an area of the site that's essentially a break in the topography. We have wetlands that flow to the downhill side on Deerfield Road, and then we have wetlands that flow to the rear of the site. And we're proposing the roadway essentially cross right through that upland area. As part of the project design, it does require a CUP for disturbance within 50 feet of the wetlands. It does not require a wetland permit. So the project design actually proposes a roadway construction to avoid wetlands and wetland crossings on the remainder of the site. As part of the CUP request, we note there are 2 portions of this. There's approximately 3,000 square feet of permanent wetland, permanent buffer disturbance, and then there's approximately 3,700 square feet of temporary disturbance. The purpose of that is to allow us to capture stormwater from the proposed roadway and essentially send that into a stormwater treatment system prior to discharge to overland flow and the wetlands proper themselves. Each one of the lots within the subdivision that we're proposing is adequately sized with frontage, land area, land mass, buildable areas. I will point out that the town recently voted to disallow construction on 25% slopes. We do have one area of one of our lots that we're proposing a house within that 25% area. Because we are active under our design review, that rule does not apply to us. When Blair and I discussed it by email, I don't know that we're really fixed on that's where we want the house for that lot. I can certainly show the house in a different location. It doesn't change the lot geometry, it doesn't change the upland soils at all, it doesn't change anything about the lot other than the fictitious home that I happen to plunk down on the lot would just be shifted around. As part of the application, we are requesting a couple of waivers to the roadway geometry and to permit above-ground utilities, much like the prior application. We're trying to limit disturbance within buffer areas and the roadway alignment itself. It is a small subdivision in a rural area. I don't know that would really aesthetically change anything in the area by going with above-ground utilities. Within certain areas of this property, there are subsurface ledge within relative proximity to the surface. And so by requiring underground utilities, it may actually require that the applicant blast, which is something that we would try and avoid on a project site like this. We did prepare roadway design plans for the subdivision package, which include stormwater design and analysis. We do have one best management practice at the front of the site where water is stored, detained, pre-treated, and then let down through a level spreader to the natural flow pattern. And then the rear of the site is captured in a small infiltration area to reduce peak rates and volumes at both the front and the rear of the site. We do understand that because this does require a conditional use permit, we would make an appointment and go to the Conservation Commission for their input. You will note that the way we designed the roadway is all supered to one side or super elevated to one side of the roadway where we're able to capture that stormwater and direct it away from the wetlands. We did install, or we are proposing to install, a pipe at the top of the crest of our driveway that services no flow function because there's no flow at the top of a slope. But what it does do is allow for migration patterns to take place on site from one side of the property to the other through that wetland system. We are proposing a concrete pipe, which Fish and Game has historically liked us to do, and we are proposing that we bury a certain percentage of that to allow for it to have a natural bottom. So with that, I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that the board has, try and answer any questions the public has, set a time when we could go see the Conservation Commission, and then return to the board.
Okay. Blair, do you have anything?
At the moment, no. I do believe that the applicant has submitted everything that's necessary for the board to vote on accepting the application. And the board should also vote on development of regional impact.
Okay.
So,
Do we need a site walk, and can we do a
so
site?
hold on. For the new board members, when we receive a new case, the first thing that we do is vote whether or not the application is complete, and we accept the application to take it under our jurisdiction. So before we do any discussion about the actual application itself, we need to vote on accepting the application to take it under our jurisdiction here. And Blair has told us that the application is complete, so his review, so.
And the reason this is important is that if you look at the top of my staff report, it begins a period of countdown.
Yes.
The board has to act in a certain amount of time. Despite that, if the applicant and the board agree mutually after that time to continue the application, that can occur. So even though the time clock exists, there is, as you'll note with the Nottingham Business Park,
Correct.
both parties agree to continue it, but technically the law states that there is a time clock. So accepting the application starts that time clock.
Correct.
So I will make a motion that we accept case 25006, SUB, Ernstoff, 35 Deerfield Road, the application accepted as complete.
There's second.
And what's the checklist?
Pardon me?
Then what's the checklist that's complete? Just Blair saying it's complete?
It's just simply that the applicant has submitted the documents that are required, sort of at a minimum, to be an application before the board. There have been at times when the board has accepted something as complete, despite maybe like an outstanding report for hydrology or stormwater management. It's sort of up to the board.
Yeah, so you can see, look, there's a whole
Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
the application
Yeah.
checklist. So Blair very kindly goes through this and makes sure that everything that the applicant is supposed to be submitting for their project has been submitted so that we don't accidentally start without having all the information that we need.
All right, it's been
So-
moved and seconded that we accept this application as complete. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
1, 2, all right, so it's 6. And how about,
I
regional
will,
impact?
so the next thing that we
Regional
do
impact.
is we vote on whether or not a case is a development of regional impact. So if something is large enough or abutting another town, they might want to input on it. And so if it's large enough, we can decide for certain reasons that it would be a development of regional impact, and then that triggers certain notices and comment periods. And I think we actually technically aren't supposed to do anything on the case or something like that.
Correct.
There's some weirdness there too. But this is a small enough subdivision that I don't believe it's a development of regional impact, and so I will move as such.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second with Chris. All right, it's been moved and seconded that this is not an application of
A development of
development,
regional.
excuse me, an application that is a development of regional impact. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
6, carries 600 again.
Well said.
Thank you. I'm
So-
up here with my brothers. Get picked on all the time.
I can just go over real quick some of the notes in my memo, now that you've gone through those
Thank you.
few steps. Chris gave you a project overview, just a couple of things to note, that there wasn't a variance that was approved. You'll see that down in the status notes of my staff report, to allow the utilization of the driveway located on frontage that is not part of the 200 feet of contiguous frontage. That would only be accessed to lot 6-2, which is the,
That's the large lot, right?
Yeah, the
And that's the
primary.
driveway that's all the way to the side, or
To
the
the left.
access road? Yeah,
yep.
okay.
So it's kind of to the northwest section of the parcel.
Was it 50 feet frontage over there, Chris?
Plus or minus, yep.
So that was granted. They will still need to get the subdivision approvals. 3 of the lots are less than 5 acres. 3 of the buildable lots are less than 5 acres. And that they are asking for a conditional use permit for Article 3, B3, and B6. So we'll want to reference those as well. And part of that is what Chris mentioned, is you have to go before the Conservation Commission so that we can receive their review and comment on that piece. I think that was an incomplete thought. The Hammerhead Road, we should probably get comments from the fire chief. I believe Alana sent an email specifically asking to just get something in writing, unless there's questions or something like that. But that is a request for a waiver, because we require, if it's not a cul-de-sac, if it's a hammerhead, it has to be done through a waiver.
I thought even a cul-de-sac had to be done through a waiver.
It does.
Because we don't allow dead-end roads, and a cul-de-sac itself, I think, is a waiver, is it not?
Yes,
Is it?
it is. Yep.
I misread that, my apologies. So, yes, so the dead-end road will require a waiver. the drainage on Watson Drive with a swale line greater than 8%, and the culvert with a flared end section instead of head walls. So those are the waiver requests. And then my comments right now are pretty top level, high level. The applicant's representative went over the proposed house lot on 62A that's in the steep slope area. Is right, it doesn't apply because their initial application to the board was through a design review, and that did predate the initial public hearing for the zoning amendment. But they have indicated they would be willing to move it outside of there just to, comply with it. I did mention about reaching out to the fire department and the Conservation Commission for the CUP. And then the board, since there is a new road, a proposed new road for construction, the board may wish to request an engineering review from CMA as part of this process. So for now, I think as, keeping my comments pretty high to get us started. And then I think as we dig further along, I think more will reveal itself. But for right now, that's what I have.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I think something that we often wait maybe a little too long to start talking about on cases is a site walk. So I want to bring that up right away, whether or not we should schedule a site walk. So I feel like sometimes we get a few meetings in and then we're like, we got to see this place. So.
I think it would be helpful to understand some of the areas that are here.
I wanted to ask about sidewalks because I thought that it was best practice because the applicant signs off on a waiver for the planning board members to enter the property. I thought the planning board members were supposed to visit the property prior to the meetings. So maybe I'm wrong. I know for the ZBA it's the same thing. They are supposed to visit it. Because I don't think there technically should be a sidewalk for every single plan. And as much as I love spending Saturdays with people like that, if it's not necessary, I'm just wondering if it's better if everybody does that so that you don't have to schedule a sidewalk every.
I think the harder part for a application as opposed to zoning board, and I can speak to that because I do both. For zoning, we are looking at something specific, a specific area where they're looking to put something with an empty and huge acreage of lot. You put me out there and I'd be like, okay, I don't know where they want to put these things. I don't know where any of this is. That's helpful to have a organized site walk where we can have the engineer and the applicant, if they want to be there, and a couple of us to go, okay, yep, this is what it looks like.
In the public, we see there's a bunch of public out there that probably want to, kind of see what's going on the lot too.
Yes, it isn't the same as the zoning board where it's very cut and dry. This has a lot more moving parts to it. But I can see where you'd be like, hey, just go visit the lot.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as the same way. That's why you don't call to the ones for the ZBA, you just do them. All right, so you said a site walk, and I think because 3 of us have seen the area, but then, at 4 because of Glenn, but we have 3 other people that have not seen
Have we
it.
done a site walk on this before?
No, we did not.
We didn't.
I mean, I visited the site, but just from the
Right.
road.
But there hasn't been there wasn't a site walk with the design review in the last year.
You're remembering the ZBA site walk we did.
Okay. I've seen it.
So then, one member of this board has seen the property.
Well, two of us.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, Glenn's familiar with it. Yeah.
I'm like, I know we were there.
Yeah.
All right, so,
So it seems like I opened up the stormwater or the drainage binder, and there's a lot going on this, especially stormwater management, right? It's the topography is steep, interesting, stuff like that. I haven't been out there, and it's always nice to be able to take huge plans like this and be able to see them in person. So at least for me, I think it would be great to have a public site walk on this case
Should
before
we
it gets
try to
too far.
coordinate that with the conservation people, because
That's
they're
what I
gonna
was
need to
gonna-
be out there on the conditional use
Right, so-
input anyway.
This application will have to go before the Concom. The next Concom meeting is April 14th, second Monday of the month.
We don't want to put them off that long before we go
Exactly.
out there.
So we should probably schedule it before that, but also let the Conservation Commission know that that's happening so that they
Correct.
can join if they so choose.
Because our next meeting is April 9th. One after that is the 23rd. We're headed into April. Snow's gone. You'll be able to see everything. This one. Any idea? A
Would-
Saturday?
Yeah. April 5th, would that work? Great.
Next. Not this Saturday,
Not
but
this
the
Saturday,
following
the
Saturday
following.
after. April
Because we
5th?
have to notice at least a week in
Right.
advance, right?
Does that give us enough time out, Alana? We go with April 5th?
Oh, yeah.
April 5th, 10 a.m.
Does that work? Adam?
Yes.
Does that work, Danny? Chris?
Yes. As moved, I second.
No, so that works
I'll
for you,
make that
works for me.
motion then.
Does that work for you?
Oh, sure.
And then it works for you? Okay. So are you moving?
Yes, a motion to have a site walk for,
April 5th, Saturday,
April
April 5th.
5th, 10
I
a.m.
was just gonna say the case, but
Can we do it earlier?
At 10 a.m.?
at 10 a.m., yep.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, correct?
Yes, seconded.
That we have a site walk on Saturday, April 5th at 10 a.m. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sure.
All right, that's a 6-0.
Sorry, Alana.
We just like spending more time with you. That's okay, Chris is good at taking notes.
I think it's notes again.
I know, I don't even need to be there.
No. All right, so, Mr. Barry, you'll be contacting Conservation Commission to get a date set with them. And we'll have the site walk. And there's still the DES approval.
Well, there's state subdivision approval, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the waiver.
How about third-party review, engineering review of the storm?
Well, I'm going
The
down my
sooner we
list.
get- Oh,
That's
okay,
there.
sorry, didn't mean to jump ahead.
No, go for it.
So, yeah, we should probably get a third-party engineering review of the stormwater management, road traffic impact, and compliance with our zoning ordinances done by, I mean, we usually do it by CMA, but I think we can put it out to bid if
No,
preferred.
No, CMA's fine. I would just,
that's who we have the contract with.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
My mistake.
Nope, you're good.
And you're good with that?
I'm good with it with one modification. So, I would prefer that their scope of services be limited to roadway construction standards and, stormwater analysis, if that's what the board is looking to have reviewed. Otherwise, you have SRPC that has reviewed the plans for compliance with the rest of the zone.
Right, and that's what I have it listed as, CMA review for stormwater management and road traffic impact,
Yeah,
So-
I would say maybe road design standards.
roadside standards.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, you guys in agreement with that?
And do we need to secure a proposal for them, or they?
Milana has all of that information. That's not
Yeah.
anything we take care of. Do we need to do a motion for that? We do, right? Because it's disbursement of funds?
It's gone both ways, I think, so the last few haven't been a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to have a third-party engineering review conducted by CMA for the road construction design and a stormwater analysis for this project.
Second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we have CMA do a analysis of the application for stormwater management and road construction, what did I write here? Road design standards.
Oh, yeah, I think I said that wrong, too.
Any questions? Well, okay, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I hate to ask if there's any questions. Have you noticed that?
With me, yeah.
Look around, yeah.
All right. Anything further for tonight? Or do we-
Maybe a public hearing?
I do have one more question, actually, on the Hammerhead.
The fire department, do we need to send out,
I think an email's already been sent.
That's already taken care of.
okay,
So when the town gets a plan, it gets distributed to all the other departments. And if they want to speak up, they can. For this one, Alana made the extra step and said specifically, I would like to get something in writing from you for the record. So she did a good job on
Thank you, Alana.
doing that. But yes, everything always
fire
gets,
safety and no.
it always gets circulated,
Yeah, okay, perfect,
yeah,
perfect.
just as an FYI.
So my question on the Hammerhead, this is my first time seeing a Hammerhead driveway design. And looking at it and looking at the international kind of fire code standards and trying to understand what Hammerhead designs are out there and, you know, kind of what they are. I'm just curious where where this design came from, how the radiuses of the curvature of the turns was determined. I only asked that because the numbers I was finding for this design under international fire codes was saying things like a radius of 27 feet at a minimum, and I see a 24-foot radius here, and that the spur coming off that Hammerhead should have 70 feet of roadway, and I can't really determine how much roadway is here.
Well, hopefully CMA will cover that in their road design review.
Well, I can address it here tonight for you also.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is not the first Hammerhead I've ever designed. We designed them in many, many communities, municipalities, towns. What you'll notice as part of NFPA 1, Chapter 18, which I think is what you're referring to.
Might be, I don't know.
Yeah, it's, so that's the fire access road standards, which require fire access lane standards and turnaround standards. Those are very general in the type of, in Hammerhead design. So there's a T design, and then there's sort of a thumb design or a reverse elbow design that we designed. And what you'll see at the very back of the plan set is that we provide turning templates to ensure that the largest vehicle that the town owns and operates can make the turning movements in and out of that Hammerhead.
Oh, is that what that mess of stuff?
Yes.
It's vehicles that are stamped over.
That's right.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
So we run a turning path and a turning template to ensure that the Hammerhead that we have is sized appropriately for the town's vehicle to enter and exit the Hammerhead,
Beautiful, all right.
as well as the entrance to the road.
Thank you.
Yeah, that answers that, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, I'll open it up for the public hearing. It is 8:33. Would anyone like to speak about this application at this point? Remind you that this is just the initial public hearing. We have yet to have of the site walk and several other pieces added to this. But if you have a concern that you'd like to address or speak in favor of this, please come forward. State your name and your address, please.
The point being, that we'll have other opportunities.
Absolutely. What, I want you all to know that there will be a motion to continue this at some point. You will not be re-notified. Your notification is tonight when we state when it will be reheard. So please be aware of that as well, because I may forget to say that when I close the public hearing. Okay.
Matt Pitkin, Deerfield Road, number 28. I got a couple questions. I think something Mr. Barry's gone over before. I just wanted clarification on it. Excuse me. So my biggest concern is the private dirt road, and I think you guys can help me with this. And I think he's answered this before, but I'm dumb, so we need to go over it. Private dirt road, at what point, if these folks want this to be a town road, what steps would have to be taken? And how do we make sure that it's gonna be up to subdivision standards in a paved road, so we don't end up with another dirt road? That's,
I'll let you
and
answer it after.
I was gonna say, I think,
He can answer it when we're.
oh, when we're
closing the
done,
hearing.
okay, sorry.
That's okay.
My other question would be, I think for you guys, after a lot of the size has been subdivided, how long, is there a time limit before it can be subdivided again?
There is, what is it?
No, oh, 5.
It is 5, that's what I'm saying, 5 years.
All right, sweet, thank you. On the culverts and the drainage, I noticed something about flared ends instead of head walls. As somebody that's built a lot of head walls, and somebody that's cleaned plenty of drainage swales, the flared ones don't seem to hold up as well. I know that one of the notes was the expense of head walls, and if you do get the precast ones, they are expensive. However, in this town, we have an abundance of rocks, and they're free, and you dig them up, and then you can make a head wall.
Sorry, I just find that funny because
We grow them every year, like more of them.
we garden, so yeah.
Yeah, it's the only thing I can grow. And there was a note in there about plowing and head walls, and if you hit a head wall with a plow, then you've definitely done something wrong. You're too far off the road. That was pretty damn minor, but it's one of those things where it seems like not the place to skimp. Question about this being a small subdivision. When do cisterns and all that crap, the fire department, like when are those required?
I don't have an answer for you on that, but I would imagine, I mean, it is going for the fire department review.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I have no idea. That's just,
Blair, do you know?
I mean, I don't think we set a timeline on it, but it's like, can you get around to it?
well, no, but how many houses do you gotta put up before you gotta have a cistern or something to that? Is there a
Oh,
set
I'm
precedent? Or is if you're so close to a water body, do you not need to have one?
Mr. Barry will answer that at the end of the,
Yeah, he'll give us something on that.
All right, again, I just don't know the answer.
But you don't have, well, I'll have to check. Yeah.
okay,
I got one more. I just gotta remember where the hell I put it.
okay.
The last one probably pertains to me the most. I looked through all 186 pages of the hydrology thing, and it gave me a headache. I am at the very end of the drain off, and I don't think this is, all right. Culvert that runs across the road. I think sump one, whatever the last one is, that one runs across the road and then parallels my driveway for 50 or 60 feet. I was in contact with the town to see if there was ever an easement pulled to dump water from that culvert 50 or 60 feet down into my lot. They weren't able to find one. They were gonna check with the registry of deeds. And I don't know if this is so much pertaining to this subdivision, but it's what got me worried. If there's gonna be more runoff coming down that and through that culvert, if it's already dumping 50 or 60 feet onto my lot and then making its own way versus running down the ditch line on the road, I'd like that addressed. Because all we're gonna do is make more wetlands on this guy's property, and I don't want any wetlands. It's gonna affect me having a buildable lot in the future. And again, that's on a culvert that does not have an easement. So it's not so much that these guys are doing the subdivision now, it's just that is what brought it to my attention. So and again, I called town hall yesterday. Road agent's gonna take a look at it to see if they can do something about possibly adjusting the flow on that culvert so it no longer runs directly down into the lot, but stays in the ditch line down the road.
Okay.
But again, I don't think it's got anything to do with this other than the end effect. So yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Anyone else? Going once?
Hi, my name is Martha Drucker, and I live at 40 Deerfield Road, so kind of across the street, little down the hill, a little from the proposed subdivision. And I apologize in advance, I'm not really prepared to go through a lot of comments, but I do have some, especially since this is going to be continued. So, first of all, you mentioned that CMA is going to be doing a review of the roadside standards and the stormwater and traffic for this project. Can that be available to the public prior to the next meeting for review?
Whenever we get reports back, they go on the website, correct? So it won't, I don't know that it would be necessarily available for our next meeting. I'm doubting it, because we don't, pardon? Because we don't have the ones back for the last application that we had yet, so I don't know. I don't know when it would be available, but,
It'll be available before you make a decision.
Yes.
oh, yes.
So we can review
Oh,
that.
yes.
If you go on the, for everybody, it's, and Alana, thank you again. Alana posts almost everything right on, so if you go onto the planning board site on the.
Yeah, that's
website,
where I got all this from, so
Perfect.
I'm familiar with it.
There's a whole check, all the stuff
Yep.
is in there.
That's where this report will end up, once we
Yeah.
receive it.
Okay, thank you. So I just went through this as best I could in the past, like, hour and a half. So regarding the traffic study, a few questions I have is, what counts were actually done on the Deerfield Road? I couldn't really tell from this little chart if any were done at all, and what month and year were those conducted? Also, I don't see that a traffic engineer signed or stamped this report, but I'm assuming if CMA is going to review that, they will have a traffic engineer that reviews this study. The other thing I just wanted to mention, it did say in this report that there weren't any amenities on the Deerfield Road for any kind of pedestrian activity or recreation activity, and I concur with that. There aren't, but I can tell you from living across the street, the UNH cross-country ski team practices on that road every year. When the lake is open and the boat launch, we have bikers and walkers. So the multimodal activity on the Deerfield Road is extremely high, especially during the summer season, spring through fall. So just keep that in mind with, not that a 4-lot subdivision is going to make much difference, but there is a lot of activity on that road. Going into the application quickly, let's see, they asked for a couple waivers. So the first waiver was to have the overhead utilities put underground. I don't support that. I briefly looked at the soil profiles, and for the most part, the closest test pit I found to anywhere near the road was test pit 2.2B, and ledge was at 37 inches. In their explanation, they say that the underground utilities have to be buried at 4 feet. That is not correct. Typically, a standard utility trench excavation is 36 inches.
They're asking or looking to have the utility installed above ground, correct?
And I'm not in favor of that. I see no reason why they should be above ground.
Oh, I thought you were saying that they.
No, there's no reason, that's our regulation, and it's to prevent, it's an aesthetic issue, it's to prevent power outages. We have a reason for our regulations, and unless there's a compelling reason that they can abide by it, then I support it. But in this case, I don't really see that. As I mentioned, the closest test pit done to the road was 37 inches where ledge was encountered. But if you look at the profiles for the road, most of the road, the beginning part of the road is a little bit of a balance of a cut and fill, but the rest of the road is a fill of up to 4 feet. The underground utilities only go 36 inches below final grade, so we won't be, ledge is 3 feet below that. So really, ledge is not an issue at all about putting the utilities underground, in my opinion. And again, I just went through this quickly, but I'd like the board to look into that and CMA in a lot more detail. Let's see, they talk about the cul-de-sac. I had some similar comments to one of the board members. I know the fire department's gonna look at this, and they show a lot of templates on this plan, but I have no idea what turning radiuses they used. Did they use a WD-50? Was it a ladder truck? Did they extend for the ladder moving, to the left or to the right? You can't tell anything from these plans, what the radiuses were, whether the fire department can actually use this to turn around in the winter. Most of you guys know, I'm assuming this is a private road. My neighbor Matt brought this up. If this is gonna be a private road and not be built to town standards, in the wintertime, I can guarantee you, if they're hiring someone to plow this private road, all the ditches are gonna be filled in, and the snowbanks are gonna be right at the end of all these, hammerheads. So I don't know if the fire department can turn around when we have winter storms, and how winter maintenance is gonna be able to accommodate that, for travel. So just keep that in the back of your minds. Let's see, roadside drainage. They're asking for a variance for actually 7 to 8%. I think it's 9.2% for about 82 feet in a section of this road. My experience, and I have experience in this, I'm an engineer, and I've worked for the city of Concord for 36 years in both private development and capital improvement development and construction in the city. So 9.2% is steep. And if this is gonna be a dirt driveway, they're saying, 8-foot travel lanes, 2-foot shoulders, 1/2-inch shoulder gravel on the side. If, in the winter, when we get, if that's gonna be privately plowed, none of the drainage off the edge of this road is gonna work at all. The water's gonna come down the road and onto the Deerfield Road in the winter, which is 4 to 5 months out of the year. So I have a big concern about, I don't think the drainage is gonna work during the winter months, especially if part of it's an infiltration system, it's gonna freeze. They're using HDPE pipe, which is plastic. Our experience, we don't allow it in public roadways. It tends to move around over time. It's a private site, so, that's fine if they want to use it, but I think, we really, really need to look at this drainage report, which I haven't, I think Matt said it's 185 pages. I haven't been able to go through it in detail, but I will. So I do have some concerns about that. They do have some catch basins. The other thing, they talked about the overhead utilities, but if you actually look at the road profile, for pretty much the entire length of the road, they have a 4 to 6 inch perforated underdrain. So if any of you guys know the Deerfield Road, from the east to the west, it goes from high to low. And they super elevated their road to go from west to east. So they're putting, basically, the natural flow goes east to west. They're super elevating the road to put it in a ditch on the east side of the roadway with a 6 to 4 inch underdrain the entire length of the road. And then that's going to a series of holding areas, drainage areas, that will cross the road and go to a big sediment, outfall area on the west side of the road. Well, in the winter, all the catch basins are gonna be covered with snow. None of the infiltration's gonna work because everything's gonna be frozen. So for the most part, the water's gonna come down the Deerfield Road for the most part. So I'm worried about some icing on the Deerfield Road and how that drainage is actually gonna work during that time period. And these guys are great engineers, and I'm sure they can figure it out, but just from a practical standpoint, this is what we see happening. And as Matt mentioned, if this is a dirt road and you have 2-foot gravel shoulders, the water's gonna wash out the road and the shoulders are gonna be washed out. They're gonna fill in the catch basins. I don't know what we have for a maintenance plan or anything else, but to me, it's, you know, you have 2-to-1 side slopes off the side of this road at 9%. And we see the kind of rains we get here. I just have a lot of concerns about the drainage on this property. My neighbor also mentioned the flared end sections versus a head wall. I totally agree. I've put in or witnessed a lot of flared end sections of plastic pipe on private development. And what happens is, especially with the rain we get and the slopes on this road, the gravels wash behind these flared end sections, whether it's at a driveway location or the end of a culvert or an outlet, and they wash out behind the plastic and get under the pipe, and these flared end sections become loose and kind of eventually kind of separate themselves from the culvert, and we end up with washout under the plastic pipe itself, and they end up to buckle from the bottom up. And fail, which is why we require Class 4 concrete pipe in any of our road sections. But my experience is they're not a long-term solution, and I would not support them, and I would, you know, recommend we go with an MRM, which is a mortared head wall. They're not damaged during snow plowing. Like I just mentioned, when we get snow, this dirt road, all you're gonna see is snow banks on the side. The culverts are gonna be off and buried in snow, so you don't have to really worry about that. I did want to clarify, I know I went to the ZBA meeting, and we did talk about, I think it was granted that the 5th lot, which is a 93-acre lot, which is directly across from my property, would be accessed via 50-foot existing right-of-way. And I just wanted, in the narrative, it did say it had an access from a 50-foot right-of-way or an additional 200-foot right-of-way. I want to make sure that, I think the ZBA approved the 50-foot, so the 200, they won't have 2 access points, the 50-foot and the 200-foot. So I'd like to make sure, just clarification, that it was just the 50-foot access. The other thing I wanted to mention, at the end of the cul-de-sac, you know, they mentioned it's a hardship to build a turnaround and blah, 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 but they actually have an infiltration system proposed up there. At that point, the test pit I looked at up in that area, they did have ledge at 30 inches. I haven't been able to go through this to see the depth of the infiltration system, but if we have ledge at 30 inches, unless the whole infiltration system is built in a fill, I don't really know how that's gonna work, or if the water's just gonna travel over the ledge westerly under the road, down towards Flutter Street. So that was one of my questions on that. I did talk a little bit about pedestrian, you know, the attention to pedestrian activity.
You did?
I'm not sure why the applicant requested that CMA only look at the private road standards. But I think the CMA should look at the road design as required by planning board, if it's, whether it's private or, and could become public.
They will be.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention is, as my neighbor Matt mentioned, he spoke about, you know, he's got a culvert and, you know, he's worried about the drainage coming, you know, overflowing his culvert and crossing his property. Well, there's actually a natural channel that runs between, he's just up the hill from me. So we're abutters, Matt and I, and there's actually a drainage channel that runs between our property that used to run year-round and hasn't probably for the past 10 to 15 years. And my feeling is some of the culverts upstream, I know there's a little wetland up on around this property in between the existing home and where the entrance is, that little wetland area, there was a culvert there at one time. I don't know if that's, been crushed or not, functioning anymore. But I don't see that water anymore. Now, what happens is the water comes down the Deerfield Road, not all of it crosses to Matt's property. It actually comes pretty much from the top of the hill down it ends up in the front of my property, and I have videos that I can send to the planning board, that it comes down my driveway, floods my garage, crosses my driveway, and goes to my neighbor just downhill of me, across his property into his basement and floods his basement. And I have reached out to the town several times about this, and they brought some of this half-inch stone that's supposed to be stable, and that ends up all of my yard that I mow in the summer, or ends up down at the bottom of the hill when we have a big rain. So I have a lot of concerns about the drainage. I feel the natural drainage goes from, east to west, and we're blocking it by this road and forcing it around it and under it, and I don't think that solution may work 12 months out of the year.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much, and I'm sure Mr. Berry will respond to some of your comments at least.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay.
Glenn Griswold, 33 Deerfield Road. So Matt and Martha both touched on significant issues that I also have. And one that I just want to really emphasize is that the traffic on Deerfield Road, the design speed that the sight distance is on there for the posted speed limit. I grew up on Deerfield Road. It's not uncommon to have people going 50, 55 miles an hour down the hill. And they're, especially in the summer when there are large trucks carrying boats or people bicycling, because that hill is used by, I believe it's the UNH bicycling team, as well as several other competitive bicycling teams. There is that portion of the hill has a very dangerous peak to it right near where the proposed entrance is. And the sight distance that is shown on the plans, believe it's on page 34. I just think that that is something that should also be reviewed by the third-party engineers.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
There was that, letter.
Right. You included it in the packet, correct? Or,
Oh, I did put it in the binders, yes.
yes, but it was from Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Anyone else here before I read this letter? Okay, we received a letter that is dated from Monday to the plan zone. Hi, Alana, Michael Roberts here. I live on 23 Deerfield Road, and I received the notice about the hearing about the development on 35 Deerfield Road. I will not be able to attend the meeting, but I wanted to bring attention to the board about how dangerous it would be to place the new road on that part of Deerfield Road. He says, I have attached a video that I took while at the entrance of that driveway. As the video shows, it would be very dangerous to try and pull in or out of that new road with traffic coming down the hill. The video was taken on a nice sunny day. It would be difficult to slow down or stop on a wet or snowy day. Please share this with the board, and you can contact me if questions. Thank you, Michael Roberts, 23 Deerfield Road. Anyone else Going once, going twice, okay, closing the public hearing. It is now 1 minute before 9. It's 20:59. Okay, there's quite a lot there. Did you want to cover some of it, or did you want?
So I think what I'll do is I'm gonna cover, some of the things that I think are the most important. And that's not to diminish, all the comments, but I think, specifically Martha's comments are largely, gonna be reviewed by CMA engineers. So I'm not gonna sit here and go tit for tat with her on those types of things. I don't mean any offense by that. I do think it's important to consider the sort of environment that we're in concerning whether or not we're in a large municipality that has large amounts of infrastructure that they have to consider, or whether or not we're in Nottingham and we're discussing a small private road development. I think one of the most important things for everybody in the room to understand is that we're not proposing a gravel private road. The Town of Nottingham subdivision regulations has private road standards that includes pavement, and we are proposing the minimum amount of payment that is required as part of those regulations. So I think the idea that we're installing a, glorified driveway or some less construction than would otherwise be required, that's not true. There's a standard, and we are meeting that standard. There are stormwater regulations, and we are meeting those stormwater regulations. So, again, we can go through the nuance of some of the design, but at the end of the day, we are proposing a design that largely meets the standard of the town of Nottingham. And if we falter, then I believe CMA is well equipped to let us know where we faltered. In terms of fire safety and cisterns, typically those are seen on larger major subdivisions. We do have a dry hydrant within 2,500 feet approximately of the entrance to this site, down at the major river crossing. I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. In terms of traffic analysis, there was no analysis done. We have a trip generation memo that we prepared for the board. We are not going to prepare a major traffic report done by a PTOE for a 4-lot subdivision. This is basic information that general civil engineers can produce. Trip end generation can be produced by general civil engineers for the purposes of discussions of this type of project. So there were no counts. We're not worried about turning data. We're not worried about those types of things. Really, it's an analysis of can Deerfield Road handle additional traffic, yes or no? Is there additional mitigation needed, yes or no? I think we all know the geometry of Deerfield Road, and I think we all know the impact of a 4-lot subdivision. Lastly, when we're talking about site distance, I think as Glenn pointed out, there are 2 sheets added to our plan set that demonstrate the adequacy of our site distance. And we did this in 2 ways because I knew of the local concern, and I knew this would be a concern of the planning board. We actually provide measurements of site distance in 2 ways in this plan set. First, the way the town of Nottingham dictates that we measure site distance is 3.5 feet looking at 0.5 feet. And the site distance required per that regulation is 250 feet. And we demonstrate that we meet that regulation. Another way to measure site distance is the AASHTO standard, which is 3.5 feet looking at 3.5 feet. And based on the posted speed limit with the slope of the road into consideration, that requirement is 350 feet, which we also meet that regulation as well. I have this conversation with boards and opposition to projects constantly. We cannot, though on major highway intersections, we do look at the 85th percentile speed of those types of roadways. We cannot limit the available development land and or remove development rights of landowners because there are morons on the road. We can plan for it the best we can. We can provide the required site distance that is required in the subdivision regulations. But if we start looking at every individual that decides they're going to break the law and drive like they drive, apparently, on Deerfield Road, I think that is a taking, in my personal opinion. I received the video today, and the first thing I thought when I saw the hood of the truck drop over the hill was a Dukes of Hazzard movie, and how fast that truck was actually moving to make it operate in that way. And I can't sit here and say that we can control that. We can't. And I don't think it's incumbent on any applicant to control the speeds on this type of roadway. We took the consideration for sight distance into consideration. We applied all of the standards that we normally would to ensure a safe intersection. And if the board feels comfortable, more comfortable with CMA taking a look at that also, I would welcome it. The last thing I want is anybody thinking that we've done something that is unsafe and not per your regulations. With that, I don't have anything else to add. Be happy to see you on the site walk. If we want to continue this, I would suggest that we continue it to the second meeting in April to allow time for the site walk, time for a Conservation Commission, potentially a Conservation Commission meeting, allow CMA to get us a scope of services and potentially get us a review back for our next planning board meeting.
Right, and that definitely, I mean, that's a month away. That should give us plenty of time for deliverables, I would hope, to come in. I hope. All right, so anybody else, anything before we do a motion to continue? All right, I'll take a motion to continue to the April 23rd at 7 PM.
So
At Town Hall.
Pardon me?
Town hall.
At Town Hall.
At Town Hall.
Date, time, and place.
Thank you.
I will make the motion to continue case 25-006, sub Ernstoff, to April 23rd at 7 PM at the Nottingham Town Hall,
Is there a second?
Conference Room 1.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we continue this case to April 23rd at 7 PM. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's a 6-0. Reminder, everyone in the audience, this is your reminder, your notice that we will be meeting here again on the 23rd. If you're interested, we will be at the site walk on the 5th. And for those of you who are exiting, please realize we have more business to conduct. So if you need to talk about something, please do it out in the hall. I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. All right, you can be reseated, Mr. Glenn.
Unrecused.
And it is 21:08. And
Yeah, maybe.
how many of you reviewed the bylaws?
I did some.
Are we prepared or not prepared
We're
for
doing
that?
that next time.
You
I thought that
want
was on our agenda for next time, but,
it's on our agenda for
well, I know,
tonight.
but I thought when, last meeting, we talked about it in April, for April. That's
Okay.
fine. We can talk about it
So
some.
review of bylaws, we're gonna move to the April, what did we say that was? 9th?
Yeah.
All right, and we, let's please make sure you have a chance to review those before that meeting, please, thank you, so that we can make any adjustments that we need to on it. We have 2 Mylars that we need to sign tonight, right? Okay. Before we get to the acceptance of minutes, public comment is not gonna happen tonight because there's nobody here. They all left. But we got plenty of public comment tonight. All right, any staff member updates? Alana, do we have anything?
We have one new case, and I'll send out the information
And so they're gonna be on for April?
Our first meeting in April, April 9th.
All right, how many cases do we have at this point for the 9th, do you know?
So, maybe that's daughter to the 9th?
No, those are,
No, they got approved. So that's it?
So just that? And,
is that, I'm sorry, is that the Duberto one?
and no, we have the Nottingham Business Park.
Right, the
Yeah.
business park.
So Business Park and a new case for next month?
Oh, I'm sorry, business park, so that's 2, I forgot.
Okay. So you all should have the Nottingham Business Park packets. Alana's gonna send a new one out to you, and you also should all have the bylaws. That's what will be on our calendar for the 9th, as well as minutes, which, do you send those out for people to review ahead of time?
The minutes,
I know I get the draft, but,
I haven't read it, but I do want to start mailing them.
Okay.
So
But
maybe-
bylaws are in the folder if we need a copy to grab,
correct.
Right.
Yeah,
pull them out.
and they're also on the website, so.
Say
I'm
mine
gonna pull
doesn't.
them out because it's easier for me to read than sitting at a computer. all day.
I agree with you, I prefer paper. Is there anything else?
The new people, I don't think you have the Nottingham Business Park information.
Right, I only got this
I'll see if I
much.
can make copies and mail it out.
Oh, they didn't get
Okay.
those yet? Okay,
Right, no,
all right. Okay,
I've just been looking at the ones on the website.
that's all
Okay.
I've done so far, too.
one new case for the 9th and Business Park.
Alana, also, mine doesn't have bylaws.
Oh, I thought some people took them last week, so
Right.
that's why I didn't bother putting any more in.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't take these ones, so
okay.
It means you're ungovernable now.
Anybody else
Well,
need them?
usually.
If not, I'll just send them to you.
Okay, that's fine.
Does anybody else, do you have bylaws in your folder?
I do.
You do, you, Adam?
I have them, yeah, so
Okay, all right, so, yeah, it would just be, Len, do you have them?
Just me, apparently.
haven't read them?
No, I,
Have them?
I saw the ones
I
on the
did
website, but
get
I
them and I
didn't
made
have a
some
paper
notes and
copy
stuff on them.
in my
Okay.
binder here.
All right, do you have anything else for us, Alana?
It's like,
All right, and Danny, do you have anything?
One was probably yours.
Okay.
One was probably.
Chris, do you have anything?
I got the beginning and the end.
I don't think so, but come back to me in a minute. It's getting my brain
Okay.
on this.
That's all right.
Where we're at.
John?
Select Board has not met since last meeting.
Okay, cool, good.
Only thing I want to bring up is that there was an email thread with some of the, I think it was Concom and Master Plan Update committee folks. But essentially, what came out of that was that, and I wanted to let you know, Chris, there was a small group of people that met in 2018 as part of the Master Plan Update Committee. And part of what they did was go through the action plans at the end of every chapter and see what had been done up to that point. So I think from 2011 to 2018, that might already be done. So I want to let you know so you don't start from the beginning and redoubling efforts or something like that, because I don't know where you're at with any of that research, but I wanted to let you know that some of that has already been done and should be coming forward at the next master plan update.
That'd be awesome. I basically went back 5 years.
That's probably perfect then.
Yeah, so that's to
All right.
2019, just to kind of say, what has changed in the ordinances? Now I'm tracking
Yeah, okay.
number of houses and number of building permits, and I'm seeing a lot of discrepancies. I'm looking at, like the tax rate and the tax increases and.
I think this next meeting will have a lot more data to figure out where we're at, so, or maybe it'll just make things more confusing.
Well-
But that's all I got for now.
Okay, good, thank you.
And there was also in there was some discussion about, some people can't make the meeting date or time, so
Yeah, there were a
maybe
couple,
we'll,
but for this next one, yeah,
we'll
we'll see what.
maybe resolve that, work on the next meeting schedule. You're
It'll be something I bring.
you're not gonna be sick this time,
No,
right?
no.
Taking your vitamins.
Yeah. That'll be something we discuss as a group, because there have been a couple of people that cannot meet the current path of meeting dates, so we'll have to talk about that.
And you said at one point you're gonna update some of our, I know, like, you've got the Nottingham, the town reports, which I saw the other day, I looked at for Nottingham. When was that?
Like the town's annual report?
SRPC does a kind of like a snapshot of all the towns.
Yeah, so we do a data snapshot, which is for the entire region, and then they make community profiles for each community based off of that. So if you don't want to sift through everything, you can just go find Nottingham. She's going to be finishing up the data snapshot by, I think, the end of April, and then she'll start creating the community profiles. We'll probably be on the expedited version of the community profiles, just given the projects that we have outlined, because there's a few other HOP grants who will be on that same path. ETA on that is a little wonky, because there's other things out there that she has to do, but, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Data as a whole, we have a lot. It's just, we're gonna be getting updated stuff. I'm gonna try to summarize that in an email to the group over the next 2 days.
And I'll probably try to summarize some of what I'm just seeing, but there's a lot of discrepancies. When you look at like the town reports, every year there's a town report that shows how many people are, in the town and how many building permits, and that's, I'm not, for single-family homes, and I'm a real estate broker too, and I'm just seeing a lot of inconsistencies between that data and HUD and what's on the town reports, and I'm trying to reconcile what's correct, or, there's people that build a home in the town without, putting it on the market or whatever for themselves, but it's, the gap is pretty big, so.
Have you spoken with the building inspector?
I have, and I'm actually meeting him tomorrow for some matters, and I've spoken to Alana, so I'm trying to, go through all the town reports for every year. That was kind of fun.
I bet it was.
Like a sharp stick in the eye, but yeah, there's just a lot of questions were asked about. One of the main questions was like, well, what happened since the last master plan? And that's a good question. What was there? How did we do? And what can be changed for the future?
And for those of you new members who aren't aware at all, we are behind the time actually for updating our master plan, and that's what we're talking about. And the master plan is kind of our guidebook, if you will, for how we want the town to go and which direction to go with regards to properties, housing, zoning, and a lot of those other sections. And so we have several people here on the planning board who are a part of that. Members of the public are welcome. Do you have, is there a place so that if even anybody out in the audience wants to look, are your meeting dates on the?
There is a master plan subcommittee section of the planning board website that Alana has put together that I do believe has minutes, recordings. Are they on there too?
No, that's just on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On the YouTube town channel. I don't think I've put in a meeting schedule yet, so maybe after.
We only have one meeting scheduled so far,
Yeah,
so.
maybe after the next meeting.
Okay, so keep an eye on that.
But there is a spot for that information.
So what are I've taken all these classes for the Housing Academy, they called it, and one of the seemingly main components of this is for a lot of input from a lot of people, and diverse people, and different departments and all this, to say what do we need and what is the direction where we would like to see things in 5 or 10 years and all that. And so a lot of different inputs, and hopefully Blair's going to help us on how to do that outreach part of it. We just barely started kind of meeting and getting that together, but we'll figure it out. I think it's a great group. They're very diverse, so we have people from different walks of life and different perspectives. So I'm sure there'll be some butting heads just even in the group, but I'm sure also there'll be diverse opinions to kind of carry the whole town. But we want to go further with a outreach to talk to a lot of people. So any input people have, we'll look forward. We'll probably be a survey and some other things, meetings, hand out it's a dump, survey something somewhere. There'll be probably a couple.
Thank you. And thank you for being willing to be a part of that. Ben, do you have anything?
Nope, just went to the Stratford Regional meeting last Friday, talking about the 10-year plan and some of the DOT stuff, the metro plan, and kind of what sort of projects they're looking at. It was interesting, but not a lot to report.
They're still taking information, Blair, are they? Or
I have to check if
they
if-
thought they were gonna extend it a little
I'll have to
bit.
check if it's still open or not, I don't know. But what they're talking about is April 11th, there's a, kind of a get-together event. So there was emails that were sent around about that.
Okay,
Yeah, I know I forwarded it on to you guys, but I'll send it again if when I see it again.
okay.
Yep.
Do you have anything else?
I got nothing.
Okay, go ahead, Blair.
But yeah, so in addition to the housing master plan chapter, we're going to be submitting on behalf of the town, SRP will be submitting on behalf of the town, an application for a grant to potentially do a natural resources inventory as well as an update to the master plan, the natural resources master plan chapter. I've been talking to some Concom people about that. Funding is tight. The prep group, Piscataqua Regional Advocacy, yeah,
Partnership, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
advocacy group only has so much money. I know we're putting in a number of applications, as I'm sure some other communities are as well. So, but it would be nice. So there's some good things coming through the community right now. Beyond that, I've been sending out notifications about upcoming, webinars and different kinds of trainings. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you for doing that.
No problem. And I know I owe you all an email with an Excel spreadsheet that will provide some basic resources, hyperlinks to different places. I was trying to go back through it to make sure everything is updated. Sometimes links go dead as the agencies change. You have a new governor now. Sometimes they call it goes from being called one thing to another thing, and then they get a new web address. And so I just want to make sure everything is still clicking for everybody. But I do owe that to you all, and I'll get it out to you. I know you new people are looking for that, but I'll try to get it out as soon as possible.
Well, I think it's from the municipal association. It was like a 175-page thing. I don't remember what it was called, but I stumbled upon it the other day. I actually saved it on my computer so I could read it in print. That was really quite interesting, and like you talked about tonight, making sure we say, hey, these were based on our findings, and covered subtleties and things like that in there. Really enlightening.
Is that their
Yeah.
guide for land use board members or something like that? Is
I
that the
think
one?
that's what it was
There are a couple
called.
out there, and I always get them
Is
mixed
it?
up.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh, then 175 pages or so?
About that.
Yeah, that's, yeah, we'll have fun, but, yeah, drink some coffee and, tea and, enjoy that. That's a good.
For large documents like that are in PDF form, one thing I like to do is hit the Control F and just start doing random word searches. And just seeing how many times and in what locations and in what ways certain words will pop up. Things that you may have heard tonight that you didn't fully understand. And it doesn't have to be a single word, it can be a word phrase like lot line adjustment. And then you begin to see how that phrase fits into different elements of whether it's a board manual, whether it's your zoning ordinance, or your subdivision regulations. Because it can be very intimidating when you stare at a 175-page document, right? You don't know where to begin. So a good place to begin is just start with some random words.
And that leads me to this too, for those of you that now have the book, and everybody hopefully should. You don't need to start at the beginning of this. It's not like reading a novel, I promise you that. But if you go to 673, if you look on that corner up in here, these are the regulations. Start at 673, it talks about appointment in terms of local land use boards. The 674 section is where most of our guidelines come in, so that's one area that you really should make yourself familiar with.
Yeah,
You can see, I've tabbed mine out because of areas that we are frequently looking into like roadways, the zone, because I'm on zoning, I've got the zoning board in there. ADUs is another one, it's more zoning, but we do get them sometimes here. Rehearings, those are the types of things we also get. So if you kind of just flip through the pages to see what's there, then you can kind of mark up what you know, you go, hey, that sounds like something that's planning board related, and then tab it, it makes it a lot easier for you. Because we do, this is, besides our zoning ordinance, something you need to be familiar with. And I'm sorry, Blair, I didn't mean to
No,
talk
no,
over you.
you're absolutely right. I mean, that's just another example of a reference document that you'll be leaning on. And as Teresa mentioned, 674, that's the one that I have bookmarked in, on my laptop. That's the section I tend to go to the most, especially when you scroll down towards 674-16, that's where zoning begins. So you'll start to find a lot of things you might need down there. But
And I hope that people are, applicants are being made aware that it's a new board, and we've got some rhythm to get into with all of this, because a large part of the board is new, so don't feel like you need to rush through, because we need to make sure we're looking at the applications and getting questions answered and stuff, so, I hope that people are okay with that, because that's just the way it is. Blair, do you have anything else?
not at the moment.
Okay. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve, February 26th, and the site walk. And again, I thank you so much, Chris, for taking the minutes and getting those prepared for us. That was really appreciated.
Sorry, Teresa, were those,
How many
I think the
corrections
two
were there?
minutes,
That's the only question I have.
I thought the 2 sets of minutes were the ones from February 26th and then the
Right.
ones from our last meeting on the 19th.
The 19th.
I know we got the sidewalk minutes, but I haven't looked through those.
in there, I know it was last minute, but I figured I'd put them in.
I've read through the last 2 meeting minutes.
Okay.
But not the sidewalk minutes.
Okay,
yet.
so we'll hold off on site walk, but,
I did not find
Well, you-
anything in either of the.
Could have read the site walk once they're pretty sure.
Yeah, probably, right. We walked around and saw the site.
yeah, that's about what he
That's
said,
what
this
they
thing
say.
was air. But all right, so, do I have a motion to approve or anything corrections for the 26th or the 19th?
I would make a correction in the 26th, where I was actually here, but my name wasn't in there, as I was in the audience. I think that was where it
Oh,
was.
you didn't sign on the,
I thought I did.
okay.
Pretty sure I signed it.
So for others present,
Right.
John
should have
Decker
my
should be
name.
there?
Yeah,
On the February 26
26th.
minutes? Okay.
yeah.
Correct. All right, anything else? I wondered about the spelling of the names that she's got the little S key next to. I have no idea who Chris Yanis is or
Yeah.
the Gennaro Construction. I didn't
Where do the
have mine.
sign-in sheets go? Because that's where that info
She
would
has
be.
them.
Oh,
Sure, it's sent to the note, the minute taker.
oh, okay,
Okay,
so I
so those
assume the
should be-
person's name was illegible then or something?
Yeah, probably.
Or somewhat illegible? Okay.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if that's correct or not, but
I don't either. I
it's the
wasn't
only
able to
other thing
determine.
I had for it. So do I have a,
I will make a motion to accept the February 26, 2025 meeting minutes as corrected, and also to accept the March 19th, 2025 minutes.
You want to do them separate because people weren't here? It was a different board?
You can abstain from both if you want, I'm just trying to save us time.
the thing is, you don't really necessarily have to have been there.
But I know,
To
but I'm
approve
just
them?
saying that people might want to abstain
Yeah, second.
from one.
So, second on the 19th as well? You guys okay with us doing the 2 sets of minutes
I
together?
can take them separately if we want
Yeah.
to do that. I don't want
No,
to,
I'm fine with it together.
Okay,
my intention is not to make anybody uncomfortable
That's
doing
fine.
this. It's to save time.
I mean, I was there, so I'm okay with it.
okay.
Good with it? Okay.
I was,
I'm trying to box you into a corner here.
I was there, so I'm okay with it, so.
I'll recuse myself from this.
Pardon? You have no problem? All right, it's
So
been
he
moved
wasn't
and
at either one,
seconded.
so.
It's It's been moved and seconded that we accept the minutes of the 226 as corrected, where John Decker's name will be listed as present under other, and that we approve 319 as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Denny, you're gonna?
Sure.
6, 7, okay. So 700. All right, that's all we
You
have,
want to do
folks.
the other ones that you didn't read? We'll be done with them.
I will make a motion to close the
Giant
meeting.
subdivision
Uh,
right at the
motion
beginning,
to
maybe
adjourn?
16 or 20.
Second,
Third? Okay,
third and fourth. Third, fourth.
all right.
When I first came in.
Thank you, everybody.